Hey there, everybody. So today I'm here to do a deck tech on Esper Spirits. For those of you following the channel, we just did a match with that. I've been playing this deck pretty consistently in Modern, and I think it's really cool and kind of not receiving the attention that it deserves. So I'd like to go over the list. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please leave them below, and I'd be happy to go over them for you. So first off, why Esper Spirits? Why am I a fan? What's cool about the deck? Basically, it's a creature-based deck, semi-mid-range, a little bit on the slower side for Modern, but it has a very, very large amount of resiliency, and it also has a whole host of creatures with hexproof and flying, evasion of that sort. So you can team up a very hard to remove package from a board state that's very hard to remove creature-wise, and then also you have creatures that are reactive to whatever the opponent is doing, like Mausoleum Wanderer and Spell Queller and, Kira and things like that. So it can be extremely versatile, and for that reason, I really, really like this deck. So I'm going to go ahead and go over it. I am on Cockatrice right now, and I'm using it because I really like this viewer they have for each individual card, so I can show it to you. And then also, if you go to the MTG and Chill Tapped Out page, which I will link below, I have the entire deck list right here for you. So if you have any questions or need to get certain cards or even want to just leave a comment, discuss things, please do so here. So back over to Cockatrice. So let's go over the creatures. I do apologize. I can hear my dog barking in the background. We have, as far as 1-drops go, all we're going to be playing is Mausoleum Wanderer. That's a 4 of. And then we go right into the 2-drops. So there's not a lot of 1-drops here. I have seen some lists play Filigree Familiar, and not a bad card. I see why it's there, but I've made some other choices, and I'll explain them. So next we have 4 copies of Rattle Chains, and you're already assuming, if you play Standard, within the past year, you're pretty much already seeing where this is going. So 4 Rattle Chains is going to give the ability to give our other spirits hexproof. When it enters the battlefield, it does have flash, so it can be a combat trick, or, you can dodge removal that way. And then also you can give your other spirits flash, which can be pretty handy. So we can do a whole host of cool little tricks and interactions. I'm going to run Selfless Spirit, which I've seen a number of different uses for this card. I've never been a huge fan of this card. I do run 2 in the main board, and it's good. I'm not saying it's not a good card, but it's not like I can't justify running 4 of these. It's just the ability it has is such like a situational thing that it only works against certain decks, and most decks don't even run sweepers in Modern except for post sideboard. So I mean, there's going to be some matches against Jonder Grixis or something. They're going to pull in Anger of the Gods. They're going to pull in Damnation. But most of the time, that's not going to be the case, and we're better off protecting our spirits with Hexproof, which we'll go over later, than with Selfless Spirit. So I have 2. This can be a flex slot, but just something to keep in mind. Okay, so next we're going to go with Spell Queller, which is one of my absolute all-time favorite cards, just in Magic, period. Artwork, everything about it, the effect. I mean, it has flash, flying, it can counter spells, but it doesn't actually counter them, and this is really important. I've had this trip up a lot of players before. It's actually going to exile a spell off the stack, which can be really, really good for dodging things that, can't be countered, or, all types of like weird little interactions that happen because of that. So enter the battlefield effects are ignored. It's very, very powerful card, and I run 4 of them. If I could have 8, I would. Okay. Now we're going to move on to Drogsoul Captain. Now this guy right here, he's a lord. He's going to give all of our spirits +1/+1, and they're going to get hexproof, and that's really what's important about this card. So we already went to Rattle Change, which you can flash in and give a creature hexproof. This is going to permanently give other spirits hexproof, and if we have 2, you get basically a lock between the 2 of them, where they're each going to give each other +1/+1, and now your entire army of spirits is going to have hexproof for the remainder of the game. So very difficult thing for your opponent to get rid of. And sticking with the theme, we have 2 Geist of St. Traft, which is also hexproof and is just an annoying, a very annoying card for any opponent to deal with. Every time it attacks, it's, swinging for 2 on the ground, 4 in the air for 3 mana, which is a pretty good deal in my eyes. Okay, so lastly, in the 3-drop spot, we have Kira. Now, this is a 1 of in the deck, and I was actually just talking to CJ on the channel earlier today that he thinks that we should probably bump the quantities up to maybe 2 of these, and if I were, it would probably flex with Selfless Spirit. It might not be a bad idea. I mean, typically these lists run 1, Mirror Folk runs 1, but when this goes down, once again, same thing as when we have Drogswell Captain, it's very difficult for the opponent to deal with. And that's the goal of the deck right here, is resiliency. Okay. Oh, I did miss 1 in the 2-drop slot, which is a Phantasmal Image, which is basically, it's a 2-drop, copy any creature, which can be extremely good for Drogswell Captain, like I said, when you get that lock. So it acts kind of like a 5th copy of that. It's a little redundancy. And then also against big creature decks, so if we're playing against Eldrazi or Tron or anything like that, we can copy an Endbringer or World Breaker or anything like that that they want to throw at us. Okay, so let's go ahead and straight to removal. Now, this isn't something I've typically seen in other Spirits lists, but the way that the meta is and all the Death Shadow decks and, Mirror Folk's getting a lot of attention lately and stuff, it's just, you want this creature removal. There's not a whole lot of combo decks. I mean, some people play Ad Nauseam and stuff, but it's not nearly as prevalent as the amount of creature decks. So we're running 4 Fatal Push and 3 Path to Exile. So great suite. I mean, we have, in my opinion, the 2 best removal spells in the format. Okay, and the only other thing, well, we do have, this is kind of, it's technically a spell, but also a creature, and which is Lingering Souls. Really good card, once again. It goes, it speaks for itself. You can make a ton of tokens. You can go wide. You can give him hexproofing, give him a buff with Drogswell Captain. It makes sense. I haven't quite decided how many to leave in this deck. Right now we're running 3, and that seems to be okay. I could kind of see maybe going down to just 2, because we're pretty overloaded on the 3-drop spot, and typically speaking, I'm going to want to put down a Kira. I'm going to want to put down a Geist or something like that way before I'm going to want to throw in Lingering Souls. So it might be wise. I'll experiment. I'll update later if I decide to go down to 2, but for now we're running 3. Okay, so this deck also runs off 4 Aether Vial. Now this is once again sticking with the theme. We're trying to avoid counters. We're trying to avoid removal. We're trying to kind of cheat our way from getting our creatures taken out of the game. And Aether Vial lets us do that. And in addition to that, we're also running an insanely amount of high cost, 3 mana creatures, which in Modern it's risky. We don't have like Monastery Swift Spear and all these really powerful 1-drops. It's just, we're waiting till turn 3. So this gives us the ability to usually drop 2 creatures a turn if we can manage. And that kind of speed can be game changing. Now, speaking of speed and artifacts, boom, Smuggler's Copter, bringing it to Modern. 3 copies. This deck, I noticed immediately one of the biggest problems with it was stalling out, didn't draw cards. So I tried Serum Visions, it was okay, but it didn't feel like it really fixed the problem. Now this card, I feel like fixes the problem, because we're able to create literally with anything in the deck, even with a token off of Lingering Souls, Mausoleum Wanderer, I mean, literally anything. And it sticks with that, that evasion, that flying theme that we have here. It sticks with the hard to remove theme that we have here, being a vehicle, and also the continuous loot that I get out of it, and fixing all those draws is, it doesn't seem like it does in Standard. When it was in Standard, it was a powerhouse. For that reason, it sped up your deck and made your draws extremely smooth, and it does the same thing here. And why I'm not seeing more of it in Modern, I'm really confused by. I guess a lot of the main lists and tier 1 lists are pretty tight to begin with, so where do you slot that in? Well, you slot it in Esper Spirits. That's where you do it. Right here. Okay, quickly, let's just go over the mana base. Nothing too unique here. We're running 21 lands. I was at 22. We dropped it down. So I have 2 Cavernous Souls. Once again, staying with the theme. Don't want our stuff to get countered. It fixes our mana. And we have 1 Moorland Haunt, which we can make more 1/1 White Spirit tokens. We can do it at instant speed. It can be a combat trick. It can do a number of different things. And then other than that, we're just sticking to a pretty basic, fetch, shock, mana base. Nothing too exciting there. Okay, so let's go over the sideboard. Now, I've experimented with a few different things, and I still don't know if the sideboard is perfect, but I do see reason behind every card that's here. So, like I said, I'm really trying to stick with the theme of hard to remove, hexproof, those kind of things. So immediately I just thought for Leyline, right? I mean, if you yourself have hexproof, your creatures have hexproof, that's awesome. That's just really cool. So that's what we chose to do here. Now, I'm going to run 4 Kataki, deal with artifacts. So we're talking Affinity, we're talking Tron, Lantern Control, all that kind of stuff. Other Mirror Folk deck, that are going to be running Aether Vial and things like that. We have 1 Spirit of the Labyrinth, which is good against control. It's good against combo. Anyone that's trying to beat us in the card advantage war. The only thing that is a bit awkward is if I'm going to bring in Kataki, I'm going to bring a Spirit of the Labyrinth, I'm probably going to take out Copter. It's just awkward with both of those in there. You just screw yourself. You can't keep your draws going, and you can't keep Copter on the field. So something's got to give. Okay, I do have 1 copy of Aven Mind Sensor, which also I'm pretty excited about that being reprinted. I actually like the new artwork quite a lot, so that's going to be a cool addition. 2 Rest in Peace just for graveyard shenanigans, Snapcaster decks, Tarmogoyfs, you name it. And 2 Counter Squall. Now, this could have been any real counter spell, and I'm going to explain to you why I chose Counter Squall. You look at this. You look at Spell Queller. Do you see that artwork? Yeah, it looked cool together, so that's why I went with Counter Squall instead of Negate or Dispel. At least I'm being honest, right? So lastly, I have 2 Collective Brutality, which is just, all-purpose, all-star, and modern. Good against Burn, good against Infect. Good when I got to get, instants or sorceries out of people's hands for combo. It's just any deck that plays black should have this in the sideboard. That's my take on it. But anyway, that is Esper Spirits. We do have some play videos of this deck on the channel, which I will be doing stuff on Cockatrice, and then also some Paper Magic. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, anything at all regarding this deck, please reach out and we'd be happy to talk about it. All right, guys, you have a good day.